Hi, I will show you a model for cold containment this time. Since I already show you how to draw things, already drawn it for you. So the simulation is already ready. We'll just look at it, and I will look at a perfect one. Then I will make a small error, a mistake that is commonly seen in a data center. But I will make the drawing correct. Then I will do the same and make the drawing uh, wrong. And I will show you how to say that something doesn't add up. Okay, so we have the perfect, the containment right now. I will just hide the rack so we can see. It's a cold containment. I will show the menu on the side, action menu, action panel right there. I just want to change the slice for the temperature right there. So we have our hot air at the outside. I will put my face a bit smaller. We have the hot air on the outside and the cold air on the inside right there. Our air circulate by the floor. You see, it entered a crack. The crack, which is the cooling unit. So the air enter here and then exit on the bottom. And it goes in our containment and pass in our rack. So yeah, in that case, there's not much to see. We see that the air is perfectly cold or perfectly hot, and we don't see a lot of suspicious movement right there. And or other slides right there. You can see that there's a bit of a gap under the rack. Put the rack. Sorry. Up. Here they are in the floor because our rack are on wheels, so we can move them. But our containment represents something. Somebody put things so that the air doesn't pass. So I will just remove the rack and show it to you. Okay, so see here there's a small gap because our containment is isolated, so there's nothing that passed. So now I will create the same situation, but somebody forgot to put something to prevent the air from entering under the rack. So I will go on the map right there. So our rack are all raised. So if I go, I must map editor and the lock blue and edit, and we see that all our rack are a bit higher. But our crack is not higher, it's directly on the floor, the containment. So we will raise a bit the containment and make the containment a bit smaller because we want it to be flush. So 8, 7 right there. We're good. And I will add the door because usually the containment is good enough for the door, but the door will be flush on the ground. So we will just have the space under the rack right there. So maybe a bit thinner so they don't make too much space right there. Okay, so let's back in 3D. So now we see that we have doors and that our containment leave a small hole right there under the crack. So let's model that. Let's launch that model. So next, autofill. So when that happened, the containment is not perfect. So we will have a bit of mixing between the air of the cooling and the air that enter the rack. So for example, that setting is a good example. So it's 5 degrees Celsius, it's a lot. So if you think of it like a circuit, we get out of the air cooling unit, we go in the rack, out of the rack, in the cooling unit. So the cooling unit gain 5 degree, and the crack, and between the crack and the inlet, we gain another 5 degree, which is kind of a lot. So we will make it a bit smaller. So that one, bit 2 degree, and that one 17 degree. And to have the same delta T, we will raise it a bit. Boop. So 33, 33, and 17. No, we want a bit of mixing. So let will show you that one would be a bit lower. Oh, yes, like that. That was good. That was good. 16. So yeah, we have 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree. That seems good. Okay, let's start like that. Next, the power will be the same as usual. So 120 watts by blade, and the cooling unit strong enough to cool everything. Here we go, finish, and we start the simulation. I will be back with the results. So we have our result. It took something like an hour, and now we have some interesting stuff. Uh, so if you remember, when I usually click on the size of the temperature, we got blue and red, and everything is really well split, but not in that case. We already see that we got some air that get under the rack. So when I go in the mud like that, the rack are on the floor. So just put all the rack. Yes, like that. So the air goes and under, and cool down or I think no, not cool down, eat the inside of our containment. So we have like that. We can hide the rack again. So we see that it's really hot in the center, a bit cooler on the side because there are cool air enter there. We can put the airflow. We'll see a bit later. We'll find the right one. Okay. So yes, we see that things are wrong, but the quickest way of seeing the things are wrong is to use our tool right there. Temperature variation I, which is I think the most powerful tool to see something is wrong. So when you see a lot of red like that, something is wrong with the containment. So the red represents the difference of temperature, a great difference of temperature. So we know that the air enter under and mix there. Those are not exactly mixing in temperature. It's turbulence, a lot of turbulence in the air. So yeah, it's not the same tool. That one is really the one you want to use to see if there is mixing with cold and hot air. So we have our air that enter there and mix. So let's see the arrows in Y and Z, sorry. Oh, did it. So we see that our air enter under like that and goes in and circulate in our rack like that. So our model is probably wrong with the temperature because we set the uniform temperature everywhere. So it's probably wrong with some inlets. So the red stuff will be everywhere. In fact, I think our rack are a bit wrong also. So there's a bit of red. Usually, it happens sometime even when things are right, that a little bit like that. So, but I think it's a bit wrong. Okay, now we want to do the same, but this time with the drawing set right. So I mean, we will put back the containment on the ground. So that the containment is on the ground. So yeah, we have to put it a bit higher. So 18. In fact, we will put everything on the ground because when the person that will use the software we draw the room, his first instinct will be to not put the gap under the rack. So you will have your probe your probe set, and your probe will detect a mixing of air. So the air uh, won't enter your rack at the same temperature as your crack made them. So, for example, the air exits the conditioning unit at 20 degrees Celsius and goes under, and it will enter the rack at 22. So yeah, something happened between the two. But the person that draw the room, he draw it without the gap, and but there are really a gap. So put everything on the ground, like if someone forgot. So I forgot that, right? Always check in 3D. I did the mistake sometimes. So up 3D. Here we go. Or everything is on the ground. Or containment is a bit high. I will lower down. Same thing here. Okay. So now let's start the simulation with the same value as before. Same with the autofill. So we put 17 on that one, 23 on that one, 32 on that one, and 16 on that one. So it will exit the crack at 16, gain 1 degree, and enter the crack. Then, okay, next, to fill. So, oh yeah, what I just shown you, it's with value that I invented, so that I put that will be probably close to reality, but not close. So I just start the simulation, and with the magic of edition, the simulation already finished. So it's important that I repeat what we did. Okay, we did a model with everything closed and perfect. And then we did a model with a leak, a mixing that air enter in the containment, and we adjust the temperature. And then we did a model with a leak, but it's not drawn by the user. Okay. In reality, if you use that software, you use it with probe. So there are probe and sensor on the rack that give you the real temperature. And the trick is that usually in CFD, the inlet, the temperature is not set. So it takes the temperature from the air coming in. It's logic because the air bear the heat and the heat enter in the surface. But in our case, we know the temperature of the surface because the probe is the reality. So if everything is right, the temperature getting in and the temperature of the boundary are the same. So everything is fine. Here the clever thing. We set the boundary temperature. So the model fail. And we want it to fail because it's not reality. Something is wrong. The temperature getting in is not the temperature of the probe. So we want that the user see that something is wrong. with the drawing. If we don't do that, the temperature will get 5 degree, 10 degree of difference. The color will be beautiful, everything will be beautiful, and everything goes like nothing is wrong. So we don't want that. So look at what's happening. It's really clever. Okay. So already we see that we have red on the boundary condition on the boundary, and and we see another thing. If we look at the temperature, look at that. All the surface is all blue. Why? Because at some places, if you look at the scale, that side, at some places we have really high temperature, something like 70, 80. Why? Because hot air enter uh, in our containment and mix with the cold, and the simulation is try to compute to understand what's happening and create a hotspot because it has to find where the heats come from. So it comes from a hotspot somewhere. It's not reality. That's the thing. So everything is blue, and you know that something is wrong. And where you don't know that something wrong's with the red spot like that. The red spot is where the heat is. So probably in that place. So note the difference. This model is like the first one, closed, but with the data of the second one open. So if someone use the probe in reality and put the probe in on the rack, the sensor on the rack, and draw something like that and get a result like that, we know that it's not reality. And if you look at the temperature of the probe, you will see the difference. And you see, hey, I have a mixing. That's why my model is blowing off. My model is saying something is wrong. And that's the clever thing. Because like that, you know that you have something wrong with your drawing, something that is you draw with sensority, you draw what you think exists, but it's not the reality. So you can find the leak with that, and the air, the the air also will do that. For that model, I want to show you the temperature. But if you put two rack close, something like that will happen with the air. Also, you will have air velocity of 70, and everything will be wrong. You will find it also. So that's the clever thing. So thank you for listening. I hope that you will use the software, and that if something like that happen, maybe will save you a bit of money. So thank you. Bye.